Hi, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Had some new exciting new comics this week.
Yeah, we kind of ran the gamut for us this week. Um,
Yeah,
so
it was a little bit all over the place.
why don't we get started? And we will start with our Ten of Swords friends, right?
Yeah, might as well jump right back into the craziness.
So first we had X-Force.
Yes, which I have learned my lesson. I go back to the list at the back of the comic and find out what order I should read them in. But I always have I never have the right luck to just happen to pick the right one first. I always end up having to switch to a different comic. But yeah, so to me, Ten of Swords has been kind of tough to like. Not that we're reviewing it, but it's been kind of all over the place for me. Last week, I found myself starting to get into it a little bit more again, and now this week, I think was a down week for me. Did you feel the same way?
I liked this issue, but then when I started getting involved in Mr. Sinister, and I was like, wait, I thought we were making progress here. Like, what's going on? And um, maybe it all played out in the end, but I was like, I don't know. I just kind of felt like we had this run of, okay, that we're having these little games, these character moments, and then there's scores at the end, and then to kind of in the end just sort of start over
Mhm.
with the battle that sort of we knew was coming, but it made sort of the rest of these issues somewhat irrelevant. I mean, I guess um, I have some stuff to say about Hellions, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. As you said, it's kind of all over the place. You have no idea what this series is going to be, and that could be a good thing for you, or it could be a bad thing. But it is what it is.
Yeah, this one, and I think I might have actually had somewhat of the opposite reaction as you. I wasn't really into this issue, and then started started getting more into the later issues, and by later issues, I mean the ones today. But you're right, the Mister Sinister storyline is completely like different from what else was going on, so that kind of takes you out of it. But the beginning of this issue, at least, kind of just felt like it was like a weird like fever dream. Like, is this actually happening in this story kind of thing? Um, it felt like it was written by a writer who was not in the meetings with the other writers, which obviously is not the case. It was, I believe this was a Jerry Duggan issue, correct? So, but, I mean, they changed the character of, and I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce this one, but Pog or Pog. Um, Vastly different. I don't know if I missed it somehow in all the previous issues, but has he always been speaking in rhymes?
Well, what's weird is that something happens to that character in X Force, and then when you go into a later issue, it's sort of not. It's undone.
Yeah, yeah. There's some sort of weird inconsistency going on with some of the issues here. Um, a little bit odd, but like I said, I did get more and more into it as I was going on. Uh, Especially a really, really awesome panel for Storm to end that first issue. So really
Yeah.
like
In Hellions, I just felt like it was Havoc's bad day, and I mean, it ends up being Hellions' bad day, but it's like poor Havoc.
Alex Summers and the no good, terrible, really bad day or whatever.
Yeah, the Summers kids are not having a good week.
Yeah, it's very true. Good point.
Families are.
Um, I like I said, I liked parts of this. I enjoyed this as a standalone issue, but it did take us away from the main story of Ten of Swords. Mister Sinister is just such a great character. He's so entertaining, and this issue really had some shocking moments. I know it's a comic book, especially with the X universe. Things will probably be undone in some way, but really had some moments where you're like, "Oh, did that really just happen?" And you keep waiting for something to change, and it doesn't. So yeah, not the best issue as far as Ten of Swords goes, but an entertaining issue on its own.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that Mr. Sinister is so campy because I grew up with the X-Men '90s show, which I mean
Yeah,
always kind of ridiculous, but they played him straight. Whereas this guy is really obsessed with his capes. He's kind of goofy, which I think is good in contrast when you have a story that's so focused on apocalypse. Like, you don't want to have to do like crazy villainy villains, like otherwise it becomes sort of Omega mutants, whatever. But
yeah, he's already on a council that includes Magneto and Apocalypse, so I mean, you have to have a little bit of a change there.
But I think this book is more like a conventional tie-in where it's the Hellions story and then it's in taking place while Ten of Swords is. Well, Ten of Swords has been sort of an event where the comics seem to basically just be chapters and the name of the book is basically irrelevant.
Right. Well, what's interesting with that is usually when you have these big events, you have multiple different tie-ins that are, this character and how this big story is affecting that character.
Right.
Ten of Swords has really just been, this is the story, and Hellions is the only tie-in that's not directly related to the story. So it's a little weird. It just feels like it takes you out, like you said. But at the same time, if there were other tie-ins, maybe it would feel more natural.
Yeah, it's only because they are saying part 19 of 22, part 18 of 22, that it feels like it really felt like a conventional tie-in book, which has for an event that has been anything but conventional. So like it's almost like those Empire books we read where it's like, okay, meanwhile, Empire's affecting the Avengers over here this way, or Fantastic Four here this way.
Right.
Whereas this has typically just been, maybe like we have Cable here. Cable might be a focus of his title, but it's not a story about Cable. It's a Ten of Swords story that might happen Cable in it.
Right.
And barely.
Yeah, I think Cable was featured in maybe 3 pages out of the 7 from that issue. I will say, I think that was my favorite of the 3 Ten of Swords issues, talking about Cable from today. It's still like the contest is so flimsy with the rules and the scoring and all that. And, kind of not at all what I expected this story to be. I mean, you go from arm wrestling to drinking contests and torture endurance and kind of things like that. So you got a lot of crazy stuff going on here. This issue was entertaining, though. It has, and again, this one has a lot of really great art as well, as most of this series has. But yeah, it was a fun issue and another kind of shocking moment, another big death that I won't go into without, to spoil the issue.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see because the deaths of the last issue kind of took place for the most part on Krakoa, so the revival thing is a little bit more likely, whereas this death took place, in the underworld or the netherworld or wherever.
Otherworld.
Yeah. And so it might have a little bit more staying power. I mean, as much as anything comics does.
Right. I mean, they built up so much of this story around the idea that if you die in the other world, you don't come back the same. So, I mean, there has to be some sort of consequence to this story.
So we got 3 more issues to go. So it feels like we're going to wrap up Ten of Swords. It'll be interesting to see what happens to X-Men, the X-Men publishing line after this. Mm-hmm. What anyway,
as we have been going through this, we've at times tried to make predictions as to what was going to happen and where we thought we would end up. And if you were to ask me that this week, I have no answer. I have no idea what's going to happen at this point. There's been some plot points that were like, you could see them coming and we knew we were going to get there. But as far as like the details of what's happening in this story, couldn't tell you.
Okay. Next, we're going to the next event with Symbiote Spider-Man, King in Black. Now, this story actually takes place when Spider-Man was wearing the black suit, written by talk about Peter David, Greg Land. I mean, talking some classic comic book creators here, right, featuring Rocket Raccoon and Kang the Conqueror. It all makes sense. You got the Watcher in the end, but big title.
Yeah.
And despite the fact it takes place in the past, it's a big title.
Yeah. I my written review for this actually just went up. You can check that out on laughingplace.com right now. I mentioned that it's interesting that to set up this big upcoming event, in our future, they chose to start telling the story in the past, or at least this part of the story in the past. This was my pick of the week, I will say, probably more so by default than anything else. I've been saying forever, I'm so excited for King in Black. And I think this was overall mostly sort of a down week for the issues we got. When 3/5 of it is, the Ten of Swords, that's been all over the place for us. That kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I did really enjoy this issue. It's definitely strange for a Spider-Man story, especially one set back in this time period where it was still, Peter Parker in a costume swinging around beating up bad guys. You got some shadow aliens and stuff happening before he's aware of the existence of symbiotes. So it was a big jump there. But I do really like that the scope of King in Black is kind of given to you here purely by the presence of the Watcher alone. Tells you something big is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's it was actually nicely done. I was kind of surprised. It's a surprising book. Takes a lot of turns. The cover kind of gives a little bit of the way, which I actually didn't look at all in detail. Mm-hmm. But it made me excited for the story because I haven't been following Venom a little bit here and there as we read them, but I know Donny Cates has been doing some crazy stuff, but like this is actually showing you the scope of it and not making it sort of typical Donny Cates, like just so nuts it's crazy, but like actual high stakes. And makes me really look forward to this event, which will start very soon.
Yeah, and this issue does that classic trope of like, well, here's this big villain that we know is so powerful, and they're overwhelmed by the power of what's coming, so we know it's going to be big, and that being Kang in this case. But I'm okay with it when it's setting up something that I think is going to be really awesome, and that's exactly what King in Black is.
So we got our final issue, which I don't have a cover for, but it's Captain America.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of fitting that you don't have a cover for it because it almost shouldn't have been a Captain America title, right? It's mostly Agent 13. It's a Sharon Carter story. Captain America, shows up and they tell a little bit of his, they give us a history lesson on Captain America and Peggy Carter. That's basically what this is as a mission is going on.
Through the eyes of Sharon.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So it was fun. It's an interesting story that is going here with the Red Skull obviously at the center of it, and Peggy in danger, and Thunderbolt Ross kind of just getting tossed to the side a little bit. But yeah, it like I said, kind of a down week for me. This I think could have been better served as a with more of a focus on Sharon Carter.
To me, this issue is my pick of the week, not because of the main story, but the backup story.
Yeah.
Where Cap is basically making the case for how he views the world through flashback at delivering a eulogy and it's not so much that it's not, it's totally manipulative, right? But it's in this time, we need the optimism of Captain America. We recently, next year will be Captain America's 80th anniversary. And so Marvel's going to be doing this whole Year of the Shield promotion. And I kind of think we need that, talking about how America's great, the ideals of America are great. Sometimes we don't live up to them. Sometimes the people that are supposed to live up to them don't, but doesn't mean you don't try and fight for the American dream and make that possible. And it was just like, oh, I needed that. It was the last issue I read this week. And it was just like, the main, I wanted to start bringing, because of his anniversary, I wanted to start bringing Captain America more often into, our show. And I don't know, we're going to read him every time, but, the main storyline was sort of a vamp I think is because it's 25th issue. I think they want to get people back up to speed, but I think that backup story is just so well executed and at the right time, at the right moment, with the right character. You know, I mean, Captain America had that part where he was Hydra for a little bit, you know, ended up not being actual Captain America and everything. But, you know, it's nice to just sort of have Steve Rogers be the one character in Marvel who's not really flawed. Not that he doesn't struggle, not that he doesn't try and get better, but he's their DC hero. And, you know, the universe needs that.
Yeah, as I was reading that secondary story, I at first I was kind of like, all right, this is more of a Captain America history lesson, and then he kind of closes it off with that classic Captain America speech. And I actually thought, as I read it too, I was like, oh, this has Benji's pick of the week written all over it. But yeah, no, it really that really brought it home for me. That is what I enjoyed most about that issue for sure.
Okay, moving from the world of comics, we finally got a release date for WandaVision, which is later than we anticipated. But
yeah,
I'm still
January 15th, 2020, right? That's the release date.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I was looking forward to watching it, I guess, a little bit sooner. But now that we have a date, at least we know how long we have to wait for it. And I mean, we've said it how many times now? We're just both so incredibly excited for WandaVision. So can't wait.
I'm excited for WandaVision, but I'm kind of glad that with the sort of void of programming, just because of what's going on, that I don't have to double dip on my WandaVision and Mandalorian. I mean, I'm really excited for WandaVision, but I don't want to, go through both of them and then like January 20th be like, now what, So I feel like, excuse me, this way we can, they can pace it out a little bit. I can still have my Mando fun every Friday morning, and then, basically a week or two after that ends, we will have WandaVision to keep us occupied for a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's definitely very true. I still need to share some of my Mandalorian excitement with Mike C. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet since last week's episode, so got to do that pretty soon.
You covered for us the Fan First Friday for the new Hasbro Pulse figures, and here's your report.
Yeah, so they gave us the full look, and these figures are now available to pre-order now. This is the first full look, really, at the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse collection of figures that were revealed at Hasbro PulseCon a few months back. Really awesome. I love that Gwen figure that comes with Spider-Ham. I mean, that's an awesome 2-in-1 figure right there. And then the Prowler one that you were seeing there as well. Some really awesome figures from that set. And I mean, everybody loved that movie, right? So these are going to fly off the shelves. Like, people are definitely going to be jumping on these.
And this Build-A-Figure for the...
Yeah, so the Stiltman figure was actually already out, and the Hand Ninja, I like how they did this because the Hand Ninja here comes with leg extensions for Stiltman. So they didn't put them in with Stiltman because you're not going to want to buy more than one figure, but you might want to buy a bunch of the Hand Ninja to kind of, build an army there. So then you can make your Stiltman as tall as you possibly want.
Yeah, so, I mean, as you can see here, Stiltman comes in different parts, right? Yeah. And then the one that you would build an army with comes with the legs, which is just really cool. Right.
This the Thanos figure was the one that stood out to me. That is such an awesome figure. I love that it is based off of the old Infinity Gauntlet comic arc design of the character. Then they also revealed some more of the House of X collection that they have coming out with the Miss Marvel Jean Grey look there, which is really cool. And then the AIM Scientist Supreme from their Bring On the Bad Guys collection, which has some pretty awesome figures so far. And they tease that they have more to announce in the future. So I'm excited to see what else is featured in that. that collection.
There goes my money.
Yeah.
Heading back to the MCU, we got word that Chris Pratt, which is the one here, will be joining Chris Hemsworth, one over here, in Thor: Love and Thunder. I think it's not the biggest surprise in the world considering how Endgame ended. And, Taika Waititi style, I think, mirrors the sort of Guardian style bit. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and Vin Diesel kind of let this slip a few months ago too, but I guess you have to speak Groot in order to understand that. So a lot of people didn't know. But I mean, exciting. The Asgardians of the Galaxy back together again. That's going to be. I can't wait for the next Thor movie. I just recently rewatched Ragnarok for probably the 100th time, and just love that movie so much. It is one of my favorites for sure.
It's interesting because this movie's coming out before Guardians of the Galaxy 3 originally was going to come out. So it's interesting to see how the storytelling has evolved. I mean, it's not a surprise, I guess. But speaking of storytelling, Marvel Storyboards returned for season 2, or I guess the second part of season 1.
Yeah, we kind of split the first season because they announced the whole lineup of guests and then kind of split it up. Gillian Jacobs, who you see there with Joe Quesada, was the first guest, and they kind of talk about. She also directs an episode of Marvel 616, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute here. And so they kind of talk about her episode and what she was, what she focused on in the story that she told, and kind of just also about her going from being an actor to being a director and how that storytelling, kind of transitioned for her.
Yeah, I watched it. It was fun. I mean, it's neat to see him talk to these different people about their Marvel fandom of various levels. I mean, there's people you have no idea who've read, Christian Boyles. I had no idea he was a huge Marvel fan, which he is. And then, Jillian is new, but she has become a fan, and it's neat to see it through a different perspective. I mean, as a fan site, it's always interesting to see, the different paths people take to fandom. On the comic side, they announced that Ta-nehisi Coates, who did the main story in Captain America number 25 this week, is returning to conclude his Black Panther run.
Yeah, this is something a lot of Black Panther fans will be excited about. He's created some of the iconic Black Panther stories. So, this is an exciting issue that we'll have coming out up in February, and continuation of the series, I should say, beginning in February.
And then we got chess. You can play Shield versus Hydra.
With some really, really cool pieces. One side obviously themed to villains, the other side themed to the heroes. Really awesome designs to these pieces here for friends and family watching this right now. Christmas present, just out there. This is a really cool set that is available to pre-order now, I believe.
And finally, we're going to end with, I guess, the big news coming this Friday: Marvel 616 to Disney Plus. You've seen him, or you've seen most of them?
Most of them, yeah. What am I through? 6 episodes now, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, I've kind of had my head down just in Marvel 616 for the last week or so. This is a really, really fun show. We talked about it briefly on Monday as well, and I've watched a little bit more since then. And I have a new favorite episode since then. It's just I mean, every episode being completely different on a completely different topic. You might not really love each one, but there's something there for everyone, whether you're a big, Marvel expert or you've maybe seen Iron Man once, and, you'll find a topic that's going to interest you. Some of these episodes are just really funny. Some of them are really emotional. And then even the ones that are emotional can be funny, and the ones that are funny that can be emotional. So like there's a whole wide range going on with this series, and it's been a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. It's, once again, I'm kind of disappointed that it's dumping because each one just looks so rich.
Yeah.
That going through it now, it's with the holiday coming up, I can probably blow through them, but this is the first Marvel content we've really had on Disney Plus for quite some time.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but since Hero Project ended, I may be missing something.
Yeah, as far as brand new content, yeah, I think so.
So, it would have kind of been nice to have one every week leading up to, basically if they did that, they could have gone straight into WandaVision.
Right.
So not quite, I've talked about this on every show we have. I don't know why they do it this way. Or, pick one at this point. I prefer the weekly release, but especially for something like this, it's one thing when it's a game show or a like a small docu-series that goes from 1 to 1, but
right.
These are distinct movies that just happen to be under the 616 banner, and well, they're not going to listen to me.
Yeah, I will say too, if you are looking at the 8 episodes and you find one that interests you, watch them in any order you want. There's no particular, it doesn't matter. If you watch episode 4 first, you're not going to miss anything by not having seen the first 3. So pick and choose whatever ones you want to watch.
Excellent point. So I think that's about does it for us. We're heading into the grand finale of Ten of Swords next week, so that should be fascinating. And we'll probably get more WandaVision news as we get a little closer. But till then,
yeah, I don't know what's left out there for us to learn about WandaVision that wouldn't, give anything away. But hopefully, we get just a little tease of something here. Because like I said, I can't wait. I am so excited. Marvel 616 is holding me over a little bit, but once that's wrapped up, which by the way, again, with it all dumping on Friday, it'll be wrapped up by the end of the weekend for most Marvel fans. So yeah, we'll be counting down the days.
Well, thanks so much, Mac. Don't forget, for those of you watching, at 4:00, we'll have Barely Necessities, the merchandise show. They got a lot of fun things to talk about. So we will talk to you later.